yet. So this last piece here has the arm in it. And so all we need to do is get rid of everything that's not the arm. So let's select that object. And remember, the shirt comes right up to here. And so we can come in and you can see that we added an extra line in there. So we want to make sure to add a line right up inside there. And then we can get rid of any polygons that are kind of beyond that line. Okay, and then any of these we don't need anymore because we've already built all those other pieces. Okay, so once we've got the arm separated out, you'll probably want to come in and let's add a smooth to that. So put it in a subdivision surface. Let's take those points and let me do an optimize, and then I'm just going to grab the points on the inside of the arm there and just scale him down a little bit so his arm goes inside of his sleeve. Okay, so we get something like that. And then you can do symmetry on that to get the other side. Now as far as the epaulets go, it's just another little detail that we want to add kind of on the shoulders. These little strategic details on stylized characters like this can really help. And so let's go into the front view. And let's grab a spline, and I want to actually draw out a spline, and so these selections here at the top are going to enable us to draw out splines, different kinds of splines in different ways. I'm just going to do a cubic spline, and so I'll start here and just kind of draw this out, and I can be pretty rough about it, but I just want to create kind of a loop sort of shape, and I don't really need to be too tight in there because we are going to want to add some thickness to it. We can then come in and we can kind of move the points around if we want to. Okay, and let's kind of pull this in a little. Now I want to give this a little bit of thickness. And so one of the ways we can do this is I'm just going to right click and let's do create outline. And then I'm just going to click and drag, and you can see that it's pulling it out. Now it's very, very smooth here, and so because I know that we're going to be kind of smoothing this later, I'm going to select the spline before I do the outline. Let's go into the type, and right now it's set to cubic. Let's just set it to linear, and then let's do our outline. And so you can do it in either way, but I'm just going to pull it in like that. Okay. Now we've got our spline there, right? So the next thing that we want to do is add a little bit of the thickness to it. So let's add an extrude, put the spline in there. Take this down a little bit. I actually want it to go the other way, so I'll kind of pull this in about a -3 or so. Now it's giving us geometry. And you can see here I've got the cap set to Ngon. And so it gives us really a nice clean shape. The only problem is we've got these Ngons on the sides, but that's okay because we can very easily come in and draw those on. And so let's take this extrude, right click, and I'm going to just make it editable. So now we've got this polygon. Now if we check, I just want to grab one of these points and check, and you can see that it actually is not really connected to that cap. And so if I open this up, you can see the caps are actually separate pieces. So whenever you bake some of these generators down, just be aware that sometimes you're going to have multiple pieces, for instance, on cylinders with caps and things like that. So what we can do is we can come in here and we can just connect them all together. You can see though the points still aren't really connected. So we can come in and go to connect, drop it inside of a connect, and then make that editable. And that'll connect it all up. Now we still need to connect it with the lines, and so we can do that with our knife. Let's choose line mode. And I'm just going to come across here. And let's actually set this to single. That way we can just really quickly come in here and draw across. And so you could leave your splines cubic or really smooth, and then do your caps. If you're not going to be deforming it or anything, that can be a way to go. But if you want to have a little bit more of a clean piece of geometry, you can do it like this, where use the linear splines, and then you can kind of use your knife to clean it up. This way, it's more like a traditional polygon piece of geometry. Let's turn off the visibility here of this guy. So let me turn that off. Go back to here. Get our knife, and we'll just complete this. Okay, now if we're going to be smoothing this, we want to add some edges to kind of hold the shape. So we'll add one there, there, and there. And probably back in here. And let's add a couple right in there. So now, when we take this piece of geometry, add a subdivision surface, and drop it in, smooths it out, you see we get a nice clean piece of geo there. All right. Now you can see here that we actually want it to kind of come down and connect, and so we can select this. Still really low res, actually, so we can take our points and just begin to move those down until it sort of attaches there. Do the same thing right here. Add a little bit more of that loop and just shape it, because it's low enough res. We can do that. We can see the resulting smooth geometry there. Okay, so once we've got that to that point, let's go ahead and add a little bit of a detail up on the top there, and then we can duplicate it over to the other side.